Question 41. And remember, there were 154 questions. So, question 41. What is a seemingly small decision that you made that actually ended up having a bigger impact on your life than you could have known at the time, basically? Um, Ended up dramatically changing your life. I'm going to have to say it was applying for a part time job seasonally at a local store. We talked about it for a long time. Things were not going well in my husband's business at the time. We were trying to decide what direction to go in. I took the part time job just to get a little extra money. It wasn't going to affect like me being a stay at home mom or a homeschooler. It was just going to be at night. It was just going to be for the holiday season. And it was going to end in January. So I hadn't worked for years. I think it had been 12 years, 13 years, something like that, since I had stopped working. And 13 years, I think. And so I was like, well, okay, I'll go do this part time. I ended up loving it. And at the end of the trial period or the seasonal period, I was offered a permanent position. And I don't think my husband liked the job necessarily, like, didn't like the fact that I had to work, didn't like the fact that he had been, breadwinner, and now I was working a little bit. Um, he's a very jealous guy as well. I don't want to speak for him. Anyway, um, so I liked the job. I ended up accepting the full time position. Of course, we talked about it, and I ended up accepting the full time position. And I mean, the permanent position, not full time. It was part time. It was, I think, 15 hours a week, or it was 10 hours a week. And then later, I took another day because we were having some financial issues. I took another day that became available, and it ended up being another 5 hours. So it was a 15-hour a week job. Still not that crazy, but a little extra money. So that was good. Um, and then when the divorce happened, it was during COVID and everything was shut down. So I wasn't working. And as soon as we were unfurloughed, a lot of people were not comfortable coming back yet. And so the divorce was happening, or the separation was happening initially, and I needed money. So I was picking up every shift I could. Um, and there were a lot available because there were a lot of people that didn't want to work. So I was picking up a lot of shifts. And then eventually I became full time there and ended up in the admin role, which is the one that I retired from in January after working there for about 13 years. And so that was that. And it ended up being not only a full time job when I needed one, but it ended up being where I met my future roommate, where I lived with her for 7 months on and off during the divorce. It ended up being where a lot of my support came from during the divorce, a lot of advice, a lot of people that may help me make some decisions that were really key in the divorce were people that I worked with. When I started my OnlyFans, there were several people there that were incredibly supportive of my OnlyFans venture in terms of me talking to them about content and what I should put out. And a lot of the girls there gave me a lot of advice about stuff. They wanted to do it themselves but couldn't because they had, partners that were not um, as accepting of it. And so I was divorcing and I needed the money and I was going to do what I needed to do. And so I ended up doing that. So that led to basically my OnlyFans, my full time job, and a lady that worked there with me for a while who was no longer there at the time, um, ended up recommending the apartment that I'm in. And the apartment hunt was aggressive back then. It was a lot of, if you didn't know someone, you couldn't get an apartment. And I knew someone, and so I got an apartment, which is huge. And I got a great apartment, great deal. I'm very, very happy. So that job led to so many things that I wouldn't have known. And it was a separate community other than like I had been kind of in the homeschool community, the church community, the married friends community, the family community, and I didn't have my own community. And so when the divorce happened, I was kind of isolated except for my work community. So it was a huge blessing for me. So very long answer to that question, but I would say just innocently applying for a part-time job that was going to be like 5 to 10 hours a week ended up being where I stayed for the next 12 to 13 years and ended up being the source of a lot of my support and friendships during that time. So, very blessed by that. So, what is a seemingly small decision that you made that ended up having a big impact on your life? Comment below. Love you guys.